สวัสดีครับต้อนรับเข้าสู่สุทธิชัยไลฟ์ครับเช้าวันนี้เช้าวันเสาร์คนบ้านเราผมต่อสายตรงไปที่อเมริกาครับที่เท็กซัสซึ่งศาสตราจารย์เฟิงซึ่งเคยนั่งวิเคราะห์เรื่องการเมืองจีนและเรื่อง One Belt One Road วันนี้ผมต่อสายตรงไปเพราะว่าศาสตราจารย์เฟิงซึ่งก็สอนหนังสือทั้งที่อเมริกาทั้งที่ไต้หวันที่มาเก๊าแล้วก็มีความสัมพันธ์กับผืนแผ่นดินใหญ่ช่วงหลังเพื่อจะวิเคราะห์สถานการณ์หลังการประชุมสมัชชาพรรคคอมมิวนิสต์จีนครับ Good morning Professor Fang
Good morning Suthichai How are you
Fine It's not morning in America is it
It is good evening I see that you are very busy
What time is it there in America Where are you in Texas
It's exactly 12 hours. It's 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock at night. And
right.
And President Donald Trump just left Washington for Asia.
Yes. Some people were hoping that it could be a one-way trip.
No, but he's coming to China. He's coming to Japan. He's coming.
Yes, he's coming to China. He's coming to Japan. He's going to Korea, Philippines. Right. I understand. So he's going all over the place.
Yeah, but this is a long marathon trip. 12 days. That could mean something. I mean, such a long absence from Washington is not very safe for a politician.
Yeah, it means that he's really not needed here. He can be away for so long.
He's not needed. He's not needed in Washington. But then he's going to meet. He's going to meet Xi Jinping after the Party Congress. After Xi Jinping's position has been strengthened tremendously. What do you think has happened to China under some people call him the new emperor of China, Xi Jinping, after the Party Congress? What is your analysis of the situation after the Party Congress last week?
Well, I did some homework on this.
Yes.
My feeling is that he gave a very good summary recently after the 19th Congress to the top CEOs in the world. He was invited to meet with Tsinghua University School of Business International Advisors. And this is not trivial people. People such as the Apple CEO Tim Cook. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg. Dell Technologies Michael Dell.
Yes.
Harold Kruger, the chairman of the board of BMW. And Masayoshi Son, who is chairman and CEO of SoftBank.
SoftBank Japan, all these powerful IT people.
Even Ratan Tata of India. And one last person that is very important is Guo Taiming or Terry Guo of Taiwan, Foxconn.
Foxconn, right.
Now, what he said is the following. He has 3 points in his summary of the 19th Congress, which I will summarize for you.
Now wait a minute, Professor Fang. Xi Jinping met these people soon after the Party Congress.
That's right.
In Beijing?
He apparently had a long meeting. How long, I don't know.
In Beijing?
But had a very long meeting with these people.
In Beijing?
And in Beijing, in Tsinghua University. Actually, I think it's in Beijing because it's Tsinghua University School of Business. Okay?
นี่เป็นการประชุมที่น่าสนใจมากสีจิ้นผิงหลังการประชุมสมัชชาพรรคเนี่ยได้พบกับผู้นำไอทีระดับโลกเลยไม่ว่าจะเป็นมาร์ค ซักเกอร์เบิร์กหรือว่ามาซาโยชิซังของญี่ปุ่นรวมไปถึงกลุ่มผู้นำ Google ต่างๆน่าสนใจมากแล้วสีจิ้นผิงก็อธิบายให้ผู้นำธุรกิจไอทีเหล่านี้ฟัง3ประเด็นใหญ่ what are the 3 main points that Xi Jinping told these people? Yes.
Now, the 3 points are as follows. They are in Chinese, and I took the liberty of translating them for you.
Okay, great.
So, if any mistake of the translation is mine, not China's.
Okay, go ahead, yes.
The first one is the critical comment about education. the reason is in Chinese.
Yes.
教育是治国之本, which means that education is the basis of running a country.
The capital, the fundamental, yes. The fundamental.
Yes. And there he says the following. He says, talents are the genesis and the core of innovation.
Yes.
Education is the fundamental engine to cultivate talents. The primary reason for having education is to cultivate the successors and the assemblers of the Chinese special traits of socialism.
Wow.
Such individuals can neither be bystanders nor can they be oppositions. Obviously, what is critically needed for China is to accelerate the strategy of development and world-class disciplines to significantly enhance the quality of the tertiary education in order to raise the competitiveness of the country. That's a very important. Now, do you want to translate now, or can I go on?
คือที่เน้นเนี่ยที่สีจิ้นผิงเน้นกับผู้นำไอทีจากทั่วโลกเนี่ยก็คือการศึกษาเป็นหัวใจเป็นพื้นฐานของการสร้างปัญญาให้กับสังคมและคนที่มีการศึกษาเหล่านี้เนี่ยจะอยู่เฉยๆเป็นผู้ยืนข้างๆมาดูเฉยๆหรือต่อต้านคัดค้านไม่ได้ต้องเข้าไปเสริมสร้างพลังให้กับสังคมฉะนั้นแปลว่าข้อหนึ่งเนี่ยที่สีจิ้นผิงเน้นนี่หลังจากที่ได้ต่อเทอม2แล้วนะครับก็คือว่าการศึกษาเท่านั้นแหละที่จะเป็นสิ่งที่จะสร้างให้สังคมจีนก้าวหน้าพัฒนาไปตามเป้าหมายที่วางเอาไว้ Yes education it means
now the second one
yes go ahead
the second critical comment is economic development and he said the following the fundamental strategy of the Chinese economic development is to stand on the underpinnings of quality change, efficiency change, and dynamical change to construct a modern economic system. This will result in the raise of the total factor of productivity and continue to enhance economic innovations and competitiveness. The competitiveness is now repeated again.
ข้อที่สองที่สีจิ้นผิงเน้นก็คือเรื่องของความสามารถในการแข่งขันทางด้านเศรษฐกิจของจีนซึ่งจะต้องสร้างนวัตกรรมซึ่งจะต้องสร้างความสามารถในการแข่งขันนี่คือเน้นจริงๆครับการศึกษาเบอร์1 2ก็คือเศรษฐกิจจะต้องเป็นเศรษฐกิจลักษณะที่สามารถที่จะแข่งขันได้มีพลวัตมีไดนามิซึมซึ่งนี่คือหัวใจสำคัญที่สีจิ้นผิงบอกกล่าวกับกลุ่มคนเหล่านี้ซึ่งแน่นอนครับ Hi yes professor
and the third one I think is even most important
right
which basically says that China is going to interact with the world in the following manner.
Yes.
He said the open era of China is not based on I win, you lose. It is based on win-win. There is an old Chinese saying, which is, and this is something that's been repeated now quite a bit, even with a lack of buy and sell, righteousness remains. In dealing with others, China will not engage in unsavory terms. Nor will China take advantage of others.
นี่ครับคือ
So this is the definition of the new era interaction with the outside world.
ครับข้อ3ที่สีจิ้นผิงเน้นเนี่ยสำคัญเลยครับผมว่าเป็นหัวใจเลยก็คือว่าจีนจะไม่แสวงหาผลประโยชน์เอารัดเอาเปรียบคนอื่น จีนจะคบกับคนทั่วไปประเทศต่างๆบนพื้นฐานของการวินวินไม่ใช่ I win you lose แปลว่าฉันจะได้คุณเสียฉันชนะคุณแพ้แต่จีนต่อไปนี้จะพยายามที่จะสร้างความสัมพันธ์กับต่างประเทศโดยการเน้นว่าจีนจะคบหาเพื่อให้ทุกคนได้ประโยชน์ร่วมกันบอกว่ามีคำภาษิตจีนโบราณที่บอกว่าถึงแม้ว่าจะไม่มีซื้อขายกันความถูกต้องความชอบธรรมก็ยังดำรงอยู่ได้แปลว่าไม่ต้องทำธุรกิจกันก็ได้ไม่ต้องค้าขายกันก็ได้แต่ต้องคบหากันบนพื้นฐานของคุณธรรม3หัวข้อนะครับที่น่าสนใจมากประชุมพักเสร็จปั๊บเนี่ยไปที่มหาวิทยาลัยซินหัวสีจิ้นผิงก็เจอกับผู้นำระดับโลกทางด้านไอทีไม่ว่าจะเป็น Facebook Google รวมไปถึง Foxconn จากไต้หวันรวมไปถึงมาซาโยชิซันจากญี่ปุ่นเนี่ยแล้วก็ยืนยัน3ข้อนี้นี่ได้รับอานัตการอยู่อีกเทอมหนึ่งเป็นผู้มีอำนาจเบ็ดเสร็จเด็ดขาดในจีนแล้วก็เน้นว่า1การศึกษา2เศรษฐกิจจะต้องพัฒนาด้วยนวัตกรรมและ3จะต้องคบหาคนทั้งโลกอย่างเท่าเทียมและอย่างเป็นธรรมไม่เอารัดเอาเปรียบตรงนี้แหละครับที่ผมเชื่อว่าสีจิ้นผิงรู้ครับว่าคนทั้งโลกจะเริ่มห่วงแล้วล่ะว่าถ้าจีนใหญ่ขึ้นมามีอำนาจมีอิทธิพลมีบารมีจะเริ่มทำตัวเป็นพี่เบิ้มจะเอารัดเอาเปรียบจะข่มขู่เหงรังแกจะใช้ลีลาวาทะที่จะข่มขู่คนอื่นหรือไม่สีจิ้นผิงเน้นนะครับว่าจะไม่และเป็นสิ่งที่ผมก็กลัวมาตลอดว่าถ้าจีนใหญ่เมื่อไหร่เราประเทศเล็กๆอย่างไทยเนี่ยจะต้องตั้งตัวให้ดีมิฉะนั้นจะถูกรังแกจะถูกกดดันในทางที่ไม่ถูกต้องThese 3 points are very critical, Professor, because
very critical.
I think he is laying down a new direction for China, especially the last point you made.
That's right.
That's
that
right. China will not treat others as a major power, as a big guy who is
That's right.
in a position to bully others. I think that he realizes that this is the feelings, the fear. Right.Among a lot of countries
now written into, as far as I know, these are now part of the so-called Xi Jinping thinking, which are now part of the communist
charter.
Communist charter.
It's put.
Let us get to the main point today, which I think you want to talk about. The new 7 members of the Communist Party.Political Bureau Standing Committee.
Right. The 7 top guys.
That's right.
Who are they and what are their backgrounds and what kind of changes have taken place?
That's right.
Okay.
Now, first of all, as you already know, I'm sure, there are still 7 members of the Standing Committee.
Yes.
Either way, the term.is Communist Party's Political Bureau, and sometimes people would put Political Bureau together and it becomes the word Politburo.
So Politburo,
so it's a political bureau.
The word
That's exactly what Politburo is.
So the word Politburo came from political bureau, right?That's
right.
Okay.
And so the 7 people, besides Xi Jinping and Li Keqiang, there are 5 others, and they're all new.
All new.
In other words, they were not part of the 18th CPC.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, and an interesting point is their age.Xi Jinping was born in 1953.
Right.
So he's 64.
64.
Li Keqiang, 2 years later. So he's 62. The 5 new people. Li Zhanshu, which is ranked now number 3.
Li Zhanshu
is the oldest one. Was born in 1950. So he's 67. He's the oldest.
Okay.
The rest, Wang Yang, 55, 62. Wang Huning, 55, also 62.
62.
Zhao Liji, 57, the youngest one, 60. And Zhao Leji will be handling the anti-corruption thing.
Zhao Liji, yeah. He's replacing Wang Xishan.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. And Han Zhen, the former mayor or party secretary of Shanghai, is 1954, so 63. All these people are either in the mid-60s, except for Li Zhanshu. So they're all relatively young. There are no octogenarians there.
No one is over 67. No one is approaching 70. ทั้งหมดนี้7 คนนะครับ7 คนที่อยู่ในโพลิตบิโรคือผู้มีอำนาจสูงสุดเนี่ยอายุ60ขึ้นแต่ไม่มีใครถึง70ที่น่าสนใจคือไม่มีใครต่ำกว่า60ด้วยซึ่งก็มีความหมายทางการเมืองว่าทายาทของสีจิ้นผิงนั้นมีตัวตนแล้วหรือยัง What does that mean? Because none of them is under 60.
None of them under 60. No.
Yeah. So
all of them over 60. The youngest one is 60. Born in 1957.
So exactly 60, the youngest one. So people are saying that when nobody is under 60, 5 years from now, when Xi Jinping completes his second term, there will be no one who is the obvious heir apparent who can take over from him. They will be too old. All of these people will be too old to be real successor. The successor.
That's right. I think that is obviously the case, and that's something one needs to bear in mind. I cannot predict how that's going to shake out within the next 5 years.
Right.
But I think it's something that we need to pay attention to and see how China is very unusual this time. Is how China will look for the next successor as the top person in China.
Yeah, right.
Now, let me. What I did some homework on 2 persons here.
Yeah.
And by the way, I watch quite often CCTV in the last few years.
Right.
And of course, Xi Jinping went all over the world.
Right.
Wherever he went, quite often, 2 people will be sitting next to him, one left and one right. Those 2 people, one of them is Li Zhanshu.
Li Zhanshu, yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Now, the Li is a very interesting Chinese character.
Yeah.
It's not your regular Li. It's a different character. It's an unusual Chinese surname.
Okay.
Dan Su means a war paper. So you can see that this is a name that's generally created during the Cultural Revolution, I think. This is my guess.
Zhan means a war. Zhan means war, right?
And Su means a document.
I see.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the other person that sits next to Xi Jinping generally is a gentleman named Wang Huning.
Wang Huming, right?
Wang, of course, W-A-N-G, so that's a surname.
Yeah.
Hu is another nickname for Shanghai.
Okay.
Ning means peaceful.
Okay.
So Wang Huning is these 2 people play an enormous importance, I think. So are the others, but these 2 particularly caught my attention. Let me tell. Sorry?
One was war, the other was peace, right?
That's right. Something like that.
Something like that, okay.
But there's one more thing that I would like to point out. The 7 people here, including Xi Jinping, including Li Keqiang, and all the others, except Wang Huning, all of them in their entire career, you see that they have been party secretaries or mayors of small towns and eventually became party secretaries or mayors, mayors of major cities or large province from one end of China to the other end of China. These people have been really go through the mills of the selection in order to arrive to the top.
คนเหล่านี้นี่ครับทั้งหมด7 คนส่วนใหญ่go ahead ส่วนใหญ่เนี่ยจะส่วนใหญ่เนี่ยจะ7 คนเนี่ยจะผ่านขั้นตอนผ่านการเป็นระดับนายกเทศมนตรีเลขาธิการพรรคผู้ว่าการรัฐและก็มาเป็นเลขาธิการของมณฑลคือผ่านขั้นตอนของการตรวจสอบทดสอบทำหน้าที่จากระดับล่างลงมาถึงระดับมณฑลก่อนที่จะก้าวขึ้นมาสู่ตำแหน่งใหญ่ที่สุดในพรรคซึ่งก็แปลว่าแต่ละคนเนี่ยไม่ใช่อยู่ดีๆเล่นเส้นวิ่งเต้นก็มาได้นะครับทุกคนต้องมีประวัติของการทำงานมีผลงานและทดสอบงานยากๆจากเมืองหนึ่งด้านตะวันออกไปอีกบนทนหนึ่งด้านตะวันตกและต้องทำงานผ่านประสบการณ์ที่ยากที่สุดแล้วถึงจะมีโอกาสได้ก้าวขึ้นมาทีเดียว Yeah so you said except one
and that one is Wang Huning now I don't know him personally but I know a person who knew him very very well
yes
and I can tell you a little bit of history about that person because it's very good reflection of this
yes
that person's name is called Yang Fujia F-U-J-I-A last name Yang Y-A-N-G
Fujia
now why do I mention Yang Fujia when we talk about Wang Huning well in 1979 I was a very young assistant professor in physics and I went to what is called the Mecca of physics which is the Niels Bohr Institute of the University of Copenhagen. Right. Niels Bohr was the person responsible for developing quantum mechanics. The fundamental theory that everything we do nowadays, including our communication now, depends on.
Yes.
Okay? Now, that was 1979.
Okay.
During the 10 years of Cultural Revolution, Niels Bohr and the Bohr Institute people, despite of the fact that China was shut off from the rest of the world,
right?
This particular group of people continued to have interactions with China.
That was under Mao. Was that under Mao or under Deng Xiaoping?
And under Mao and the Gang of Four.
All right. The Unicultural Revolution.
That's right. As soon as the Cultural Revolution ended in 1977, by the time 1978, end of 1978, when I went to the Copenhagen, China sent the first batch of people out of China and they went to the Niels Bohr Institute.
I see. Interesting. Very interesting.
One of them was a professor and at that time the study of Fudan University in Shanghai.
Fudan,
and that person is Yang Fujia, the one I just mentioned.
So
now why do I mention about that?
Yes.
Well, you know, in 1979, China just came through this Cultural Revolution.
Yes.
And the country was essentially driven into destitution.
Yes.
And so in 1978, there was a huge conference in China where they gathered everyone and they say that science and technology will rebuild China as a conference theme.
I see.
So as a physicist, as a young physicist, I was very excited and I talked to my friend Yang Fujia about this.
Yes.
And his answer was very important. He looked at me and he said, you know, science and technology cannot rebuild the country.
Cannot.
Public policies can.
Public policy, not science and technology.
Are you?
Yes.
Technology cannot build the country. Public policies can.
Public policy. So
what he is saying is that science and technology is merely a tool for public policies to run.
That's true.
It is wrong to think of science and technology can build the country. It's the same as saying putting the cart in front of the horse.
Okay. You need public policy first. Then
you must have the right public policies.
Right. And then you get science and technology as a tool.
Later on.
Yeah. Yes.
Later on, Yang Fujia then became the president of Fudan University.
Yang Fujia.
And later on, after finishing becoming the president of the university, he became the chancellor of Nottingham University of England, the first Chinese to do so.
Okay.
And during his time when he was the professor, one of his faculty members who wrote very nice things and very extensive things about how China needs to progress, and that person was Wang Huning.
Wang Huning.
And in 1993, Yang Fujia told me, later on he told me that he said one day he got a call from the central government in Beijing.
Yeah.
And this is at Jiang Zemin's time.
Jiang Zemin, yeah.
And they said, we like to borrow one of your faculties for 1 year. And Yang Fujia said, who is that? They say, Mr. Wang Huning.
Wang Huning.
And then, of course, Wang Huning then immediately went into Zhongnanhai, the central core of the Communist Party organization.
Wow.
And he became the brains of the whole government.
Wow.
And once he left, he never came back. He worked for Jiang Zemin. And he worked for Hu Jintao.
Yeah.
And now he worked for
Xi Jinping.
And not only that, he also became one of the Politburo members.
Wow. So he is the only exception in the...
That's right.
In terms...
He's never had a party secretary of anything.
Right.
Of anywhere.
Yeah.
But only based on his enormous knowledge.
About science and technology.
That's right. He's actually... I think his major was in German and political science.
Really? He wasn't a physics professor?
No, he's not a physicist at all. He's a social scientist.
Social scientist from China?
Yes.
From China?
Oh, I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
Of all the 7 people now, none of them are scientists and engineers. Yeah. They are all humanists or social scientists.
Interesting, because before
there are no scientists and engineers in it.
Well, interesting, because before this, most of the top guys in China would have engineering background, right?
And I tell you what Wang Huning did for Jiang Zemin.
Yeah.
He was the one who proposed for Jiang Zemin the so-called theory of the 3 represents.
Okay.
That means represents advanced social productive force. That means economic production. Represents the progressive course of Chinese advanced culture. That means cultural development.
Yeah.
And the third one is to represent the majority, namely political consensus.
Wow. So,
and this theory of 3 represents, 3个代表, is written into the CPC Congress.
Right. Right.
And during Hu Jintao, he was the one who assisted Hu Jintao to develop the scientific theory of development, which is parties promotion welfare for the masses under strict guidance of central government.
ต้องจับตาดูคนนี้นะครับหวังฟู่หนิงซึ่งเป็น1 ใน 7แล้วก็หน้าใหม่มาแต่ว่าเบื้องหลังประวัติเนี่ยที่ Professor เฟิงเล่าให้ฟังนี่น่าสนใจมากหวังฟู่หนิงนี่เป็นไม่ใช่เป็นนักวิทยาศาสตร์เทคโนโลยีเป็นนักคิดทางด้านทฤษฎีการเมืองและช่วยประธานาธิบดีเจียงเจิ้อหมินหูจินเทามาจนถึงสีจิ้นผิงยกขึ้นมาอยู่ใน1 ใน 7เลยนะครับฉะนั้นผมก็เชื่อว่าแนวคิดทางการเมืองทั้งหลายเนี่ยของสีจิ้นผิงเนี่ยต้องมาจากหวังฟู่หนิงคนนี้อย่างมีส่วนสำคัญแน่นอนครับแล้วที่สำคัญน่าสนใจคือ7 คนนี้ไม่มีใครเป็นวิศวกรไม่มีใครเป็นนักวิทยาศาสตร์เหมือนกับสมัยก่อนที่ใครขึ้นมาบริหารจีนต้องมีพื้นฐานทางด้านวิศวกรรมศาสตร์แต่ครั้งนี้ส่วนใหญ่เป็น social science คือสังคมศาสตร์ทั้งสิ้นแปลว่าคิดเกี่ยวกับเรื่องของการเมืองเศรษฐกิจทิศทางของประเทศชาติเนี่ยสำคัญมาก so socialism with Chinese characteristics
That's right.
will fit the new Politburo, meaning that they are not
That's right.
engineers and not
scientists. There's another very interesting episode, and I think people should go. You can actually go into the YouTube and find it. I can send you a list.
Please do.
What that is in the year before he was called to the central government, he led Fudan University's debating team to attend in Singapore the international debating competition. And that debating competition involves some of the top universities in the world.
Right.
That means places like University of British Columbia, University of Sydney, and National Taiwan University, China's Fudan universities, and so on, and Hong Kong universities, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And every single debate is on YouTube, so people can actually go and find it. And you can see the way he trains the way the students think about the debate.
Wow. Was he speaking Chinese or English? Was he debating?
It's actually in Chinese. Those are in Chinese, but it actually has English translation.
Oh, great.
And so you can see very clearly the way he thinks. You know, I think so often I now see that people say that it's difficult to find out about these Chinese leaders only because they're lazy. Yeah. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
And people can really dig into a lot of this kind of stuff. And I'm only giving you the tip of the iceberg here.
Okay, please send me the links and I'll try to understand, try to learn how the leaders of China think. So Wang Funing is an intellectual, is a thinker.
Yes, also by the way, during his years as a professor, he also spent time, I don't know how long, at UC Berkeley.
Wow.
And also another university, I don't remember which one it was, another in the it's one of the top ones. It's either Johns Hopkins or Michigan. I don't remember which one. So it is interesting that these people all have a global view. Now,
ที่น่าสนใจคือผู้นำใน7 คนเนี่ยอย่างน้อย1 หรือ 2 คนเนี่ยมีประสบการณ์ในโลกตะวันตกพร้อมจะดีเบตพร้อมที่จะแลกเปลี่ยนความคิดเห็นและที่สำคัญคือแนวคิดวิธีคิดเนี่ยระดับสากลนะครับเปลี่ยนจากยุคเหมาเติ้งหูจินเทาเจียงเจิ้อหมินมาสู่ผู้นำอย่างสีจิ้นผิงที่มีคนรอบข้างที่มองจุดยืนของจีนจากแง่มุมของระดับโลกแล้วนะครับตรงนี้แหละคือประเด็นที่น่าสนใจเป็นอย่างยิ่ง Right, so the composition of the new members of the Standing Committee of the Politburo will now be mostly concentrating on social issues, political issues, and of course public policy, right?
That's right. public policies. And, it took me 20 years to understand what Yang Fujia told me in 1979. How important it is that public policies for the nation.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you a little bit more about the other person, which is now ranked number 3, and he is Li Zhanshu.
Li Zhanshu.
Yes. Well, he is a very interesting character. He graduated from a teachers' college in Hebei province.
Hebei, yes.
And then eventually received a master's degree in business administration in the night school.
Night school.
Yes. And then he became a member of the party, and he worked in various places. Eventually, he became the deputy party secretary, and also eventually became the provincial governor of Heilongjiang province.
Okay, Heilongjiang, the northeastern part bordering Russia.
Northeast, bordering with Soviet Union, with Russia, and also with Outer Mongolia. But he also became at one of his posts, he became Guizhou's party secretary. Guizhou is on the southern end.
Yeah.
So what you see is that these people have been around all over China from the grassroots all the way up. It's very typical that way.
เบอร์3คนนี้นะครับเบอร์3คนนี้เนี่ยได้มีประสบการณ์บริหารตั้งแต่มณฑลที่อยู่ทางตะวันออกเฉียงเหนือไปจนใต้สุดแสดงว่าประสบการณ์ของแต่ละคนใน7คนนี้ไม่ธรรมดามีความรู้มีประสบการณ์สัมผัสกับรากหญ้าสัมผัสกับระดับมณฑลทั้งหลายแหล่แล้วก่อนที่สีจิ้นผิงจะเลือกมาให้เป็นคณะกรรมการถาวรของกรมการเมือง7คนทุกคนนั้นไม่ขี้ไก่แน่นอนทุกคนนั้นมีประสบการณ์ที่สามารถที่จะมาร่วมบริหารในระดับสูงสุดจริงๆ so he's number 3 and what
number 3
yeah
and he is the oldest
at
he's
67 right
yes he is before he is elected into this Politburo he was the chair of the Central National Security Committee and I actually went in and I searched something about him and I found a very interesting YouTube description of him. It was an interview of him in front of a large crowd when he was still the governor of Heilongjiang. This was a interview where the person who interviews him is a well-known person like you. Who wanted to have a dialogue with him and have rather penetrating questions. For example, immediately when he came up, he said, most Chinese leaders, when they become leader, in Chinese they say, 新官三把火. That means a new administrator immediately want to have 3 major flames, which means that you want to do 3 big things. And Li Zhanshu looked at him in this interview. It's a video, so I can see how his face behaves. He said, no, I think that's the past. The future is to look how things are and try to improve it rather than throw it away and burn it down.
So you don't create your own monuments. You don't create your own.
You don't create your own monument. You know, it is so tempting for people to create their own monuments.
Right. Yeah. So
very tempting.
So Li Jiansu was saying, no. You look at what is happening.
That's right.
And you improve on it. Yeah.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And he's very down to earth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he also said, the first thing I believe that I will not do as a leader of anything is I will not make people uncomfortable.
That was a very enlightening statement.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he also was asked about, he is very interesting. Then Heilongjiang is a rather poor province. And so the guy asked him, well, now you're the governor. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So he immediately brought some of the young people up onto stage.
Wow.
And these are the people who have started businesses to allow foreign companies to outsource to them.
Oh, okay.
And so then the question is, how are you competing with places like Shenzhen, and how are you competing with places like India? And he went in and had some very clear discussions, which I will not go in here because it's too technical.
Right.
But it's clear that he has already given a lot of thought and no nonsense discussing those issues. What I'm trying to say is, these are the leaders, the new leaders of China. If the homework I have done can be believed, and there's no reason for me not to believe, is that they really have a new vision of how to do things in China.
And they are practical people.
Very practical people.
Not people attached to ideology. Is that what you're saying? You don't get the feeling that these are ideologues. No, not ideologues. They are practical, pragmatic.
And also very important, they are not demagogues.
That's why it's a distinction or difference from the past.
That's right.
From the past, you must show that you are ideologue before you can become anything important.
That's right. Now let's get back to the top guy, Xi Jinping again.
Yes.
I think I don't know how much people really try to understand him. You look at it and you see he's been around. He's of course been in all kinds of positions, some very, very low level, and he moved his way up.
Yeah.
Perhaps the most interesting about him. Now, I don't know whether you remember when he came to visit President Trump in Florida.
Yes.
Afterwards, he went to Iowa. That's right.
Yeah, he had an old
friend.
Now,
why did he go to Iowa of all the places in the United States?
I know why. Because when he was young, he went to Iowa as a trainee or as an intern. Something.
Well, actually, it's very interesting. It was in 1982 to 85 when he was just a prefecture party secretary, a small town in Hebei province. And he was asked to bring a team of people with him to the United States to learn about agriculture.
In Iowa, right.
In Iowa.
And where they had planted.
So where did he go? They went to a little town called Muscatine. Muscatine, Iowa. There are two things he did every day. Every day he put on a boots, and go to see how agriculture farms operate.
Potato, for example.
That's right. And then the next thing that is very interesting. Do you have Rotary clubs in Thailand?
Yeah, Rotary clubs. Yeah, of course.
He went to Rotary clubs. He went to talk to the grassroots Americans.
Wow.
This is how he learned about America.
Right.
And he also stayed with with two people, Eleanor and Tom Drovchak.
Yeah.
Their son went to college, so they actually just let him stay in their son's room.
Okay.
And he stayed there. And what was interesting is whatever they put on the table to eat, he eats. He never complained.
He ate everything. No complaint.
That's right.
Yeah.
No complaint. And unlike many Chinese, they say, I cannot eat this, I cannot eat that. No complaint whatsoever. And that's why I thought this is how leaders understand grassroots. And this is why I am sure he understands United States far more than President Trump ever will about China.
That's true, because Xi Jinping really lived with the grassroots people, the farmers, so to say.
Well, Trump doesn't even live with the grassroots people in the United States, so for sure he's not going to live with the grassroots people in China.
So Xi Jinping knows America better than Trump.
That's right. I think also his wife is interesting too. His wife, as you know, is a very charming lady, a very well-known mezzo-soprano.
Right, yeah.
And I particularly enjoyed one video of him in the YouTube when he visited the Juilliard School of Music. I don't know whether you know about the Juilliard School of Music.
Yeah, I've heard of it, yes.
Well, I tell you why I'm interested in the Juilliard School of Music.
Why?
My mother was probably one of the first, if not the first, Chinese women student studying piano at the Juilliard.
Wow, really? Wow.
Yes.
Wow, that's interesting.
And I saw how she actually, once she heard a singer there, she then immediately became almost like a teacher, because this singer was singing something special about Chinese songs, and she was teaching her how the Chinese songs should be sung and how it would bring out the feeling of being Chinese. So these are the things that we can learn so much about Chinese leadership if we really spend time in looking into the details.
Right. So Chinese leaders are no more mysteries. They're no more mysterious like before. You can really find out who they are.
That's right. That's right. You go onto the website, you see everything about them.
Yeah. And the composition of the new Standing Committee of the Politburo, I think, represents major changes.
Yes.
In terms of the quality of the people, the backgrounds, or their political, their family backgrounds, and that means the new direction also will be very, very much different from the past.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So what are your conclusions?
Okay.
Yeah. What are your conclusions now?
My conclusion is as follows. China now is using the term a new era. So first of all, let's ask, what other eras are there?
Yeah.
Well, the first one, of course, actually there are three eras.
Yeah.
And those eras went from conceptual simplicity to conceptual complex.
Yeah, okay.
And I say that because of the following. The first one is Mao era. Mao, of course, stood on Tiananmen Square and said, 中国人站起来. 站起来 means they stood up.
Okay. People stand up.
Now,
stand up.
Yes, that's simple because China was beaten down for the last probably 100 years.
Yeah.
So the Chinese stood up. That's easy to understand. The second one is Deng Xiaoping's era.
Yeah.
Deng Xiaoping era was uttered in 1979.
Yeah.
And that's right after the Cultural Revolution. And we all know that the Cultural Revolution drove China into destitution.
Yes.
So Deng Xiaoping's era has three other new characters representing it. It's called Fu Qilai, or Chinese will grow with wealth.
Wealth. Fu, it means rich, getting rich, right?
Getting wealthy.
Wealthy, okay.
That's right. Now, compare with the Zhan Qilai, this is already more complex.
Yeah.
To become wealthy is not as simple as Zhan Qilai.
No. Yeah.
Okay? Now, the third one, which is now the Xi Jinping era, now it's also written into the Communist Constitution.
Right.
It's called Qiang Qilai.
Qiang means
getting strong.
Strong.
But if you read all the speeches that he has done and so on, strong is not the right translation. In the Western sense, when you're strong, you are military strong, you are economically strong, and you tend to bully people.
That's true.
Okay? His strong is that China is very big, but it's growing in strength in a gradual manner until China becomes a new nation. Because, for example, the aspiration for 2020 to 2025 is Xiao Kang, which means small comfort.
Xiao Kang, which means...
And from 25 to 50, it's 协和 or harmony.
Harmony.
Okay? Neither these are strong type of aspiration. They are gentle aspirations. They are not forceful aspirations. So in a sense, what Xi Jinping has said is that China should be 大而渐进. It's large, but it's gently moving towards graciousness.
Yeah.
Or even better, it's immense with gentle growth to grandeur.
Immense. You would translate the word qiang as immense rather than great or strong.
No, I say that 大而渐进 I would translate as immense, which is 大.
Immense.
With gentle growth to grandeur means 渐强.
渐强. 渐强 is not strong only, but it's grandeur.
Gradually strong.
Gradually strong.
So let me give you my ultimate my summary.
Yes.
I say that there's no doubt that a nation's future is tied to its leader's vision and demeanor. And with China being such a nation in the 21st century and beyond, for China in particular and humanity in general, whether China will be such a great nation, I say time will tell.
Yeah.
However, perhaps the final words of Xi Jinping in his keynote at the closing ceremony of the 19th CCP Congress, where he quoted an ancient poem by a Yuan dynasty poet, Wang Mian, would bestow us the opportunity to peek into the future of China. And that poem reads as following: not angling for compliments, I would be content that my integrity fills the universe.
Wow. Not angling for compliments, not seeking praise.
That's right.
But continuing...
But I want my integrity to fill the universe.
Yeah, the integrity, honesty, integrity.
Yes.
Want to fill the planet, the whole universe, right?
Right.
So this is a really major breakthrough for Chinese politics. And I thank you for having done such thorough research into some of the personalities the top seven, the Magnificent Seven. Can we say that? Do you remember the Western movie? Remember the movie? Long
yes,
ago?
by you Brenner.
Yeah, you
who also played the king of Thailand.
Yeah. So the Magnificent Seven. Now you have the Magnificent Seven in China. And I think there will be a lot more work to be done to understand them. But I think you give us a very good picture, overall picture, the broad picture, the big brush, so to say, of the new composition, new lineup, and I think that we will continue to study. And when are you coming to Bangkok, Professor? You are supposed to come to Bangkok soon, right? Again?
I think I may not be able to.
Because I was thinking perhaps that if you come to Bangkok sometime in the near future, I would like to invite you to do a.
Let's not have this on. Can we stop the radio and talk a little?
Okay, but thank you very much, Professor Fang, for this very illuminating presentation today, and I'm sure the audience, my people who are following me, get a very good broad picture, first sketch of history of the new China. And thank you, Professor. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you so much, Suthichai.
Thank you.
A great honor.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I'll call you back to have a chat.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. นี่คือบทวิสรุปที่น่าสนใจมากครับที่ Professor เฟิงได้ทำการบ้านมา และบอกเลยครับว่านี่เป็นยุคใหม่ของจีนจริงๆ7 คนที่อยู่เป็นผู้นำสูงสุดภายใต้การนำสีจิ้นผิงเนี่ยไม่ใช่นักวิทยาศาสตร์ไม่ใช่เป็นวิศวกรเหมือนสมัยก่อนแต่เป็นนักสังคมวิทยาคิดการเมืองคิดเรื่องของสังคมคิดถึงเรื่องปรัชญาและคิดถึงเรื่องการนำพาจีนไปสู่สังคมโลกยุคของเหมาเป็นยุคที่เหมาบอกจ้านเฉลายลุกขึ้นคนจีนลุกขึ้นคนจีนต้องต่อสู้กับต่างชาติคนจีนต้องยืนด้วยขาตัวเองแหละยุคของเติ้งเสี่ยวผิงนั้นบอกให้ฟู่ฉิหลายแปลว่าสร้างความร่ำรวยสร้างความมั่งคั่งให้กับสังคมมาถึงยุคของสีจิ้นผิงนั้นคือเฉียงฉิหลายต้องแข็งแรงแข็งแกร่งจีนต้องแข็งแกร่งฉะนั้นจากการลุกขึ้นมาร่ำรวยบัดนี้จีนกำลังก้าวสู่ยุคที่จะสร้างความแข็งแกร่งของตัวเองและนี่แหละครับเป็นสิ่งที่เราจะต้องเกาะติดตามขอบคุณทุกท่านที่ติดตามนะครับสวัสดีครับ